Welcome back. Keeping tobacco products out of the hands of minors. It continues to be a hot topic as the popularity of e-cigarettes and vaping continues to rise. Just last week, in fact, we told you about Tobacco 21, an ordinance the city of Youngstown is considering which would raise the minimum age to buy tobacco in the city to 21 years old. And if you remember, our own Caroline Collins told us recently about a hot trend called JUULing. It's a discrete electronic device that can be charged up in a laptop. Some students even smoking this nicotine-packed e-juice in school just because of how discreet that it is. A very timely subject matter as we welcome in Dr. Jonathan Winikoff this morning. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, you're a pediatrician with Massachusetts General Children's Hospital. You're here in town speaking with clinical staff from what we've learned at Akron Children's Hospital, right? Tell me a little bit about your visit.
Yeah. So we're going to be covering third-hand smoke and electronic cigarette use.
Okay.
And as a general pediatrician, what we've been seeing is a lot of kids who are addicted to these new products. And we want to make sure that everyone understands what they are and how we can prevent kids who would never be smokers otherwise entering into nicotine addiction because of these products.
Very hot topic for sure. Can you first start off by giving us what is the definition of third-hand smoke? We've all heard of second-hand smoke, but what is this third-hand smoke?
So third-hand smoke is once the cigarette is put out, it turns out that there's toxins in the air that stick and linger on fabrics, on clothing, really anywhere that a cigarette or a vape product is used gets coated in nicotine and toxins. And these include class 1 carcinogens, the most carcinogenic substances known.
Wow.
So there's really no place where you can smoke that won't contaminate the environment, and that's true for vaping. So anywhere that's smoke-free has to also be vape-free.
What trends are we seeing out there right now with children and these e-cigarettes and vaping and even a new trend, JUULing?
Not a day goes by in my clinical practice where I don't see a teen who's come in and can't stop JUULing.
Wow.
I had one kid yesterday morning before I flew in, who told me that they had to keep it under their pillow so that they could get their fix at night.
Wow.
This substance is extremely addictive. It's not just that they've taken some nicotine from tobacco and put it in and then you vape it.
Right.
No, they've actually chemically engineered the nicotine to make it more addictive. They've made it smoother. These ultrafine aerosols go deep into the lung, bringing with it the carcinogens and heavy metals right into your body. And there's really no safe way to do this, especially for the developing brain.
You brought a JUUL pen in with you. Can we see
Yeah,
that?
I did.
And then talk about, you showed me the cartridge and you said that it has like even more nicotine than a pack of cigarettes?
Yeah, so if you take a look at how, I just concealed this in my pocket. I
Right.
brought it right into your studio. So you take a look at that, what does that look like?
It looks like a USB.
Absolutely. And let's just say this, couldn't you hide that in your sleeve?
Oh, absolutely.
Kids are using this in the classroom. Kids who never would have smoked, they get addicted to nicotine, and that can last for their entire life. Now let me show you the actual JUUL pod.
Okay.
Let me pull it out. You think, oh, maybe it's a big thing?
Right.
That's it.
So that little thing has more
That
nicotine
little thing.
than a pack of cigarettes?
An entire pack of cigarettes, a few little drops of this liquid gets into your brain, and you get addicted for life.
Wow. This is extremely interesting, and it's really good for us to see. What advice do you have for all the parents out there and for those, you know, with small children who this probably seems cool for children to do?
Absolutely. Kids, 69% of kids don't even know that every JUUL contains nicotine. They think it's harmless water vapor with a little bit of flavoring. But in these flavors contains the nicotine. And there's this image of, on the website, like, oh, healthy mango, cool cucumber, fruit medley. They even have creme brulee. These things are marketed to kids.
Wow.
Let's make no mistake. They are not trying to get smokers to switch to this. They're trying to addict the next generation to tobacco products.
So for parents out there, it's obviously just really good for them to see this and to hear about this, and just any quick parting advice that you can give to the parents?
Well, I think that talk to your pediatrician, talk to your family doctor, make sure that we get kids off of these products. If you've not started using them, then never start, because you are probably going to be looking at a lifetime of tobacco addiction.
Right. Dr. Winikoff, we really appreciate your time this morning, and I know you're flying in and doing really good work with the Akron Children's Hospital out there as well, so we really appreciate you coming in this morning.
And I really appreciate the opportunity.
Though JUUL started with the intention of saving lives, it had a recent dispute with the FDA, who claimed that JUUL was contributing to a national health epidemic. This led to the removal of thousands of JUUL products from shelves all over the country. Despite this, the company still has a $16 billion valuation and pulled in $250 million in revenue in 2017 alone. Though it faces legal difficulties, JUUL is clearly the most popular choice for vapors around the world. The San Francisco-based company owns a dominating 71% of the e-cigarette market. But there's more to the story than JUUL is revealing to the public. Today we're exploring 10 unsettling facts about JUUL. Much like when cigarettes became big business in the 1900s, most people don't know exactly what goes into their JUUL pods. The JUUL has two components: the e-cigarette, which holds the battery and temperature regulation system, and the pod, which contains e-liquid, made up of nicotine, glycerol, and propylene glycol, benzoic acid, and flavorants, and is inserted into the end of the e-cigarette device. Pods come in a variety of colors and flavors, from cucumber and creme brulee, mango, and tobacco. JUUL's starter kit, the e-cigarette, USB charger, and 4 flavor pods, sells for about $50. If you didn't recognize a lot of the ingredients that comprise a JUUL pod, you're not alone. However, according to a study from Johns Hopkins, researchers found that the vapors from a variety of e-devices contain potentially toxic levels of metals, including lead. Additionally, an in-depth review of more than 800 studies on e-cigarettes published by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine in January determined that most e-cigarette products contain and emit a variety of potentially toxic substances, such as aldehydes and metals. When you insert the pod into its cartridge and inhale through a mouthpiece on the end of the JUUL, the device vaporizes the e-liquid. When the device runs out of power, you can insert it into your computer via a USB charger for a reboot. With such a sleek design and enticing flavor options, it's not difficult to see why these devices appeal to more than just older smokers. Depending on the taxes in your area, JUUL pods usually cost about $15 for a pack of 4. That makes them pretty inexpensive, and therefore accessible to kids. When a pack of cigarettes costs $5 to $12 for a single pack, most kids will opt for the JUUL. According to the National Youth Tobacco Survey, 20.8% of high school students and 4.9% of middle school students, over 3.6 million kids, were current e-cigarette users in 2018. From 2017 to 2018, e-cigarette use increased by an alarming 78% for high schoolers and 48% for middle schoolers. I don't recall any fad, legal or illegal, catching on in this way, says Meg Kenny, the assistant head of school at Burr and Burton Academy in Manchester, Vermont, who has worked in education for 20 years. Students at her school are juuling in bathrooms, in class, and on the bus. Because it's against the school's rules, they hide the devices in ceiling tiles and in their bras and underwear. 95% of the disciplinary infractions we deal with in the fall and continue to deal with into the spring are all connected to the JUUL, she added. JUUL comes in a variety of flavors, such as fruit medley, mango, cool cucumber, and creme brulee. Flavors in tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, have been proven to appeal to young people. Flavored e-cigarettes are especially dangerous, not only because they attract youth, but because their young users are likely to be misinformed about the harmfulness of the products. So if they're illegal for minors, where are all these kids getting these JUUL pods? Truth Initiative surveyed a national sample of more than 1,000 12 to 17-year-olds in April 2018 and found that nearly 3/4, 74% of youth said that they obtained JUUL at a store or retail outlet. Just over half, 52%, reported that they received JUUL from a social source, such as a friend or family member. Although the internet was not the most common way youth obtained JUUL, only 6% reported that they received the product through an online transaction. Another feature that sets JUUL apart from many of the other e-cigarettes on the market is the nicotine punch-it packs. Each pod contains 59 milligrams of nicotine per milliliter of liquid. JUUL claims one pod is equal to a pack of cigarettes in terms of nicotine, but tobacco experts say the precise equivalency is difficult to determine because not all the nicotine released in cigarette smoke is inhaled, and some is trapped in the filter. JUUL also contains 3 times the nicotine levels permitted in the European Union, which is why JUUL can't be sold there. JUUL's creators ramped up the nicotine levels on purpose. They realized many of the e-cigarettes on the market don't hit smokers' systems in a way that's comparable to cigarettes. Typical e-cigarettes have nicotine levels ranging from 6 to 30 milligrams per milliliter. This means that if you're already a cigarette smoker, JUUL can be a good alternative, but it will only get you more hopelessly addicted to nicotine. Beyond this, if you've never smoked a tobacco product, JUUL's could get you far more addicted than a traditional cigarette ever would. Because 1/5 of high school students actively JUUL, their chances of living a life free from nicotine are diminishing by the day. When the makers of JUUL first started designing the product in 2015, they talked about the name of the gadget, meant to suggest an object of beauty and to catch on as a verb, as in to jewel. While the campaign wasn't targeted specifically at teenagers, a former senior manager said that he and others in the company were well aware it could appeal to them. After JUULs went on sale in June 2015, he said the company quickly realized that teenagers were in fact using them because they posted images of themselves vaping JUULs on social media. The former manager said the company was careful to make sure the models in its original campaign were at least 21, but it wasn't until late 2016 or January 2017 that the company said it decided the models in all JUUL ads should be over 35, to better align with the mission of focusing on adult smokers. Only in June of this year did the company again change its policy, this time to use only real people who had switched from cigarettes to JUUL. The company recently modified the names of its flavors, using cream instead of creme brulee and cucumber instead of cool cucumber. JUUL said it heard the criticism that teenagers might be attracted to the flavors, and responded by simplifying the names and losing the descriptors. From our perspective, this is not about getting adults to stop smoking, the Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey said in an interview. This is about getting kids to start vaping and make money and have them as customers for life. As part of the FDA investigation, the makers of JUUL have been asked to submit all paperwork relevant to these ad campaigns. Obviously, this has led to a lot of bad press surrounding JUUL and its products. To combat this, the company announced it will take additional decisive action by actively supporting state and federal initiatives to raise the minimum age to 21 to purchase tobacco products, as part of an initial investment of $30 million over the next 3 years dedicated to independent research, youth and parent education, and community engagement efforts. Our company's mission is to eliminate cigarettes and help the more than 1 billion smokers worldwide switch to a better alternative, said JUUL Labs Chief Executive Officer Kevin Burns. We are already seeing success in our efforts to enable adult smokers to transition away from cigarettes, and believe our products have the potential over the long term to contribute meaningfully to public health in the U.S. and around the world. At the same time, we are committed to deterring young people as well as adults who do not currently smoke from using our products. We cannot be more emphatic on this point. No young person or non-nicotine user should ever try JUUL. Whether this method is effective still remains to be seen. If JUUL wants to stay on the market much longer, they'll need to make some pretty serious changes. After it became clear that a disturbing number of teens were using JUUL products, authorities tried to better understand the problem. They were horrified as one thing became clear. Many teens don't seem to understand the potential harms of these devices. An April study published in BMJ's Tobacco Control Journal suggests many young people know about JUUL, though they aren't aware of its potential harms. In the survey of youth ages 15 to 24, a quarter recognized JUUL, and 10% reported both recognizing and trying the device. Alarmingly, most respondents were not aware that JUUL pods always contain nicotine. The actual true science behind JUUL and the concentrate and how the nicotine is derived, that's not common knowledge to students, an official said. And I think that's the work we have to do with our students and families. When we've intervened and had meetings with parents, they're even confused as to what's in the product. They wonder if there's even nicotine in it. Their kids just tell them it's flavored oil. The fact that students don't know they are smoking an analog of traditional cigarettes means they are not equipped to make the serious decisions that will affect them for the rest of their lives. Because the JUUL is brand new on the market, one of the scariest things is the total lack of research on its long-term effects. According to the JUUL website, one JUUL pod is equivalent to about 1 pack of cigarettes, or 200 puffs. More than what's in a typical e-cigarette, says Catherine Schaff, MD, a specialist in pulmonary medicine at Geisinger Medical Center in Danville, Pennsylvania. It's pretty concerning, according to Schaff. Long-term use of the JUUL may also have lasting effects on heart health. As a cardiologist, I'm worried about someone who uses nicotine for a long time. Nicotine increases adrenaline levels. Sustained adrenaline levels increase the risk for a heart attack, Middlecoff says. Admittedly, there are toxic ingredients found in cigarettes that are not present in JUUL pods. Among them are tar, plexiglass, and arsenic. However, it's unclear how glycerol, propylene glycol, benzoic acid, and numerous flavorings affect the human body once they're consumed every day over a long period of time. On top of several European countries, Israel became the latest country to ban JUUL entirely, citing public health concerns given their nicotine content. A statement by Israel's health ministry said the JUUL device was banned because it contains nicotine at a concentration higher than 20 milligrams per milliliter and poses a grave risk to public health. In a statement Tuesday, JUUL Labs Incorporated said it was incredibly disappointed with what it called a misguided decision by the Israeli government. The San Francisco company said it planned to appeal the ban, adding that its devices provide smokers a true alternative to combustible cigarettes. JUUL announced it has spent the past 2 weeks collecting its 5% pods from retailers in Israel and replacing them with 1.7% pods to adhere to the ban. The company is already offering the reduced nicotine pods in the UK, where it has to comply with European regulation. But in the US and in its newest market, Canada, the company sells the full nicotine version. The Israeli move was consistent with similar restrictions in Europe. Though the pods are not illegal in the EU, they are heavily regulated. Under the new rules, electronic cigarette advertising will be banned in Europe. The products will have to be child-proof. The packages will require safety warnings, and they will be limited to 20 milligrams of nicotine. While JUULs may seem appealing with their sleek design, small size, and variety of flavors, the harsh reality is that JUULs are bad for both people and the environment. JUULs contain materials destructive to the environment, including plastics, batteries, and toxic chemicals. As people throw their used JUUL pods in the trash or on the ground, they contribute to the amount of pollution that already exists. Professor of Marine Science and Biology Shannon Goen said that there is a misconception circulating that JUUL pods are microplastics. The JUUL pods, as I understand them, are not technically microplastics because they're bigger than the fingernail size, Goen says. With that said, there's still plastic going out to the marine environment. The groundwater and soil can all be adversely affected by the materials within the JUUL. One of the big concerns is, of course, the plastic pollution that's coming from the e-cigarettes, Goen said. But additionally, in conjunction with that, you have the batteries that are involved with that, all the chemicals involved with the battery. Unfortunately, there is no easy way to properly dispose of JUUL electronic cigarettes at this time. Goen suggested that these e-cigarettes be disposed of like old computers or cell phones because they're considered to be electronic waste. Following a huge crackdown by the FDA, JUUL's manufacturer said it stopped selling its fruit-flavored nicotine pods to stores and shut down its US-based Facebook and Instagram accounts. The move, which was announced Tuesday by JUUL Chief Executive Officer Kevin Burns, follows a campaign from the Food and Drug Administration to curtail underage use of e-cigarettes. On Thursday, an FDA senior official said the agency would restrict sales of many fruity-flavored nicotine cartridges used in vaping devices. The curb is expected to cut JUUL's in-store retail sales by 45%, according to a person familiar with JUUL's sales projections. JUUL said it will no longer take orders from retailers. However, stores may continue to sell their remaining stock. JUUL will also lose more than 77,000 followers on Instagram and almost 11,000 followers on Facebook. Tobacco and menthol-flavored JUULs will still be available in retail stores. The flavors mirror what is currently available for combustible cigarettes. The bottom line is smoking is incredibly dangerous to public health, and unless it makes some serious changes, JUUL does not seem like a viable replacement.
Well, here to help us clear the air about e-cigarettes and vaping is our own David Nazar, who I know doesn't smoke either, but boy, learned a lot about this.
I knew nothing actually, to tell you the truth, about electronic cigarettes, so these past few weeks, quite the learning lesson. And what I did learn on this story, such a hot button, heated debate between the pro-vaping, pro-e-cig industry and its users versus the anti-vaping, anti-e-cigarette folks like some doctors and politicians. Well, one thing is for certain, this business is a force to be reckoned with. A relatively new industry that basically began back in 2008 and really started flourishing a few years ago into a $2 billion industry. Of course, that's chump change compared to a $35 billion big tobacco industry that's kind of feeling the heat from e-cigs and seemingly trying to get in on the action. Big tobacco's profits, as we're seeing, beginning to dwindle. E-cigs are increasing, and California has become ground zero in the vaping crusade.
Vapor simulates a lot of the things that we enjoyed about smoking. First off,
it's all the rage in Southern California these days, electronic cigarettes.
Really simulates the pleasurable aspects of smoking.
Sort of a kinder, gentler version of your normal tobacco-filled ciggy.
I find that to be enough of a placebo, even at zero nicotine. I have a robust flavor. This is a coffee and Kahlua flavor. I find that to be close enough to smoking that I don't need a cigarette.
At the Vapor Spot on Sunset Boulevard, owner J.J. Jenkins says electronic cigarette sales are soaring. J.J. explains exactly how the battery-powered heat-coiled e-cig works.
You pass a current through it, it heats up very gently, And what it'll do is it'll steam 1 or 2 drops of that food flavoring with or without the nicotine, the liquid, the e-liquid, and make these ginormous vapor clouds. Has the appearance of smoking, but has none of the effects of smoking, such as bad burnt mouth, ash, stems and leaves being inhaled, and vaping doesn't have any of the tar.
JJ says his shop offers a smorgasbord of e-cig flavorings, hundreds of seasonings for any smoker to savor.
There's everything from a tobacco to a peach to a watermelon. This is our strawberry, cucumber, lemon zest mixture. We also have some flavors that are more robust. We have a lot of dark coffees.
Hutan Halako was sold. This LA businessman now swears by e-cigs after a lifetime of being a human chimney.
By the time I was 18, I probably was smoking a pack a day, heavy smoker. I tried quitting probably 20 some odd times. I tried hypnotherapy, acupuncture, nicotine gum, cold turkey, and within a few months I'd be right back to square one. I'd cough all the time. You'd feel tired all the time. I was just sick of the habit.
About a year and a half ago, Hutan finally decided to kick the habit.
I saw everyone smoking electronic cigarettes and the vapor pens, and I said, you know what, maybe I should give that a try. And it made it the easiest possible way for me to quit cold turkey. I had no cravings, I had no withdrawals, I was even breathing better.
While Hutan might be breathing easier, California Senator Barbara Boxer is breathing fire. Boxer says she's fuming that the feds are doing nothing to regulate this industry. Boxer was at this hearing grilling e-cig business leaders.
Are you marketing to children?
And earlier this week, she spoke with us over the phone.
Many members of Congress are upset that e-cigarettes are on the market with zero regulations. We have written many letters to the FDA and to the President. We've forwarded petitions signed by thousands of our constituents. We're asking FDA to finalize a rule to make sure that e-cigarettes are regulated just as traditional cigarettes are.
Senator Boxer is also concerned that electronic cigarettes are being sold to countless kids underage. The senator says between 2011 and 2013, e-cig usage among teens tripled.
E-cigarettes are dangerous. They have nicotine. They contain chemicals such as the one that's used in antifreeze. It's toxic to humans. Frankly, I don't care what e-cigarette companies say. If you make products with flavors like bubble gum, gummy bears, those are aimed at children, period. End of quote.
Our demographic of 18 to 21-year-old smokers after 5 years is less than 1% of my sales. We're not catering to a young client. We're catering to an adult client in the 30 to 55-year-old age range.
Is this electronic cigarette thing just a fad, or do you see it here to stay?
It's here to stay. Absolutely.
I've inhaled quite a bit in these last few weeks with the medical marijuana story and now the e-cig story. Anyway,
What's happening, David?
really, the Vapor Spot was the first vape bar of its kind to open 5 years ago. JJ was a real trendsetter. Now, a few facts. The e-cig industry, remember, it's not actually claiming that the e-cigs are completely safe. E-cig vaping folks are just saying that they are, quote, safer than normal cigarettes. They like to use the terms or phrases such as smoke-free lifestyle or zero nicotine or non-tobacco or harm reduction. Of course, anti-vaping, anti-e-cig folks like Senator Boxer and others say it's nonsense. This is all semantics. I do want to clarify one thing about all the flavorings you saw in the story being used in the e-cigs. The fact of the matter is, so far, there has been no testing to see if inhalation of all these flavors is safe. There is testing in progress. We should know more soon, although Rick and Elizabeth, as you know, I have no dog in the fight, never smoked one of these electronic cigarettes, but I'm going to tell you from being out there in the street a few weeks talking to all the folks, the smokers say it is the only thing that has gotten them off cigarettes, and they swear by these e-cigs. That's what they're telling me.